Hello there. If you are a content creator, whether that's for your blog, your podcast, or your YouTube channel, stick around because today we got 5 content creation hacks for your blog, podcast, or YouTube videos. Creating content is one of the most important things you can do to build a brand, build some authority, and build a business online. It allows you to share your expertise. It allows you to create content that can help attract new people, both organically and through paid advertising. However, it's a very overwhelming thing to do because there's millions, if not billions, of things people could already choose to read, to listen to, or watch. Why should they choose you? And also, because there's so much competition out there, how do you stand out and how do you reduce the overwhelm in terms of creation? Because, well, where do you even start? Well, stick around because that's what we're talking about today let's just get right into it. Number 5, answers to questions. Yes, because it really is that simple. One of the easiest things you can do to make your life easy when it comes to content creation, no matter what platform it is just simply answer people's questions. I mean, think about it. It's called a search engine. People are searching for answers to different kinds of things. So instead of trying to come up with something from scratch, why not just answer people's questions? Now, there's a couple tools I want to share with you to find out what questions people are asking. However, how might you take this information and turn it into something? Well, if it's a blog post, for example, just literally write out the question as the title, address it, and there it is. Now it becomes a part of a library that you can have to answer those people's questions. And this is also of benefit to you too, because should you have somebody ask you questions later on, if you've already written or created an episode of something about that, well, you can just forward them that episode, thus introducing them to your content even more. So let's go into the computer really quick. I want to show you a tool that I discovered that's going to help you understand what those questions are. If you go to answerthepublic.com, this will take you to, by the way, don't be scared about what you're about to see. This person's sort of just patiently waiting for us to ask something. But let's say I'm doing an article about, Facebook ads, for example. And I want to answer people's questions about Facebook ads because I help people with marketing. So after a couple moments here, when you type that into your search, answerthepublic.com will come up with specific questions that people are literally typing into Google. And it just takes a few moments to load. I'm recording this sort of live here. As you can see, 70 questions popped in, all based on who, what, where, why, will, can, when, which, sandwich, all these kinds of things. Now, if I click on data up here, this will display them a lot nicer, right? So here are questions that we could literally create content about. For example, how do Facebook ads work? How do Facebook ads target you? Facebook ads 2020. How about over here? Are Facebook ads worth it? Are Facebook ads effective? How about down here? What Facebook ads have I seen? Which Facebook ads are most effective? You could create a piece of content simply just for each and every individual question, or you can have a monster post, a beastly resource, which can get ranked really high for just the more general term like Facebook ads, or you can start targeting individually these questions so that you can get found for those longer tail keywords too. So make it easy on yourself. Answer people's questions and you can't lose. All right, next. Let's talk about looking inside the covers because the hard work has already been done. What am I talking about here? Well, we're going to go to another resource. Let me pop it up here in my computer for you really quick. And this is a resource that I guarantee that you've had access to before, and that is Amazon. Now, Amazon is really interesting because obviously we all know it started as a bookstore and then now has a bunch of other things. I'm giving a little bit of a clue of something I ordered recently there that'll be used on my live stream, the income stream, my morning show. Anyway, I'm going to look up a book about Facebook ads, for example. We'll just stick with that example. And I'm going to go to, let's see, this one here, The Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising. Now, what's really cool about these particular books here on Amazon is you can look inside the cover. Just click on Look Inside. And what we're looking for is the table of contents. And typically, as we all know, it's right up close to the top of the book. Now, here's the contents, right? Now, listen to me. We are not here to copy. Do not copy. You can get in trouble for that. We're here to collect inspiration and understand what holes we have in our content so we can talk about similar things. So we could talk about in our own way, in our own voice, in our own style, these things, not copying as we are here in the table of contents. But let's say, for example, fundamentals. This is giving me the idea, okay, I need to write an article about Facebook ad fundamentals. So I might create an article called, or a podcast episode, top 10 fundamentals for brand new Facebook ad users. Let's go down here, audience awareness. How to have your audience be aware of you, for example. Let's see, how to create a great hook in your content so that your ads actually convert. Let's see, the Facebook ads builder, how to create a great call to action, right? Top 5 call to actions I've ever seen on a Facebook ad. Let's go down here. The differences between a warm and a cold audience. How to upload your lookalike audience to Facebook. So as you can see here, this is just helping me fill in the gaps. And we can take this content that this author likely has spent a lot of time to understand that this is what they should be writing about. And obviously they're gonna go a lot deeper than you are because it's a book. However, you can, in a very specific YouTube video, maybe even answer questions, combine it with tip number 1 here about that particular thing. How do you find a warm audience? How do you convert a cold audience? Again, these are ideas that are just coming up from looking inside the cover, and there is a plethora of books that you can find on Amazon that you can look inside the cover for. All right, next, let's talk about starting with the end in mind. This is a way to help structure how to actually approach the content creation process. So, starting with the end in mind, the way that I approach my content creation, whether it's a podcast, blog, or YouTube video, is I always start with the end in mind. So I know the roadmap and the destination first. If you know the destination, then you're gonna have an easier time getting there. If you just sort of flip-flop your way through content in general, who knows what direction you're going to. Also, it allows you to create a much more beautiful hook at the beginning of your content. And the hook is required to keep people watching, listening, or viewing. So, starting with the end in mind, and the way I like to approach this is considering, well, what's the transformation I want my target audience to have while reading or listening or watching this piece of content? The transformation, right? It's just a fancy way to say, well, what's the purpose of this? However, it positions it as the purpose for the viewer on the other end. And if a piece of content is not worth transforming somebody, if it's not going to do that, then why write it, right? Or why create it? You need to have that transformation, because the beautiful thing about that is if you actually do transform somebody, and it doesn't have to be a big grandiose transformation, it could just be a small one, something new that they've unlocked, a brand new small quick win that they've never experienced before. That transformation is key because it proves that you know what you're talking about. It already gives people results, and they'll continue to come back to you in the future and maybe even subscribe to your email list and even join your courses or coaching programs or whatever it is that you might have to offer, or even click on your affiliate links more likely too. So starting with the end in mind and then reverse engineering that post, right? So let's say, for example, that I want to have a transformation of a person completely understanding the Facebook 2020 Power Editor, for example. That's sort of just a fancy thing that's done in Facebook advertising. I don't teach that, which is why I'm selecting that as a topic. If I start with, well, that's the transformation. I want people to understand Facebook Ad Power Editor completely. Well, then I might reverse engineer. Okay, what are the steps? What are the stories? What are the case studies? What are the screenshots I need to share? Who are the other players in this space that are doing it right? What are some examples of mistakes in that realm? And then I can pack that all out, see it all, and organize it in a way that makes it easier to consume, thus creating then the step-by-step process or roadmap to get there, starting with the hook. The hook is typically the last thing I create. So I'm actually going backwards to go forwards, starting with the end in mind, ending with the hook. That way, a person who sort of watches in reverse sees the hook first, and it's very, very clear where they're going to end up. And I promise you, if you consider the transformation or the end goal of that post or video or audio, it's gonna make your life so much easier, which takes us to number 2 here. Number 2 is planning it out with Post-it notes, the Post-it note plan out process. And yes, I love these little squares that help us structure exactly what we're doing. And I have a whole bunch of them right here. Post-it notes, I swim in them every single day because they are exactly what I use to create the content based on the transformation. I threw all my Post-it notes away. I gotta grab some more. I shouldn't have thrown them all away. Anyway, these things are great. Why? Because they're small and you can pick them up, move them around, and stick them somewhere else, right? And they're small, and the reason why that's important is because you can put one idea per Post-it note. So here's how I would structure a blog post, for example, to make it easy for me to actually create. Starting with the end in mind, I pick up a Post-it note, write the transformation, boom. Sorry, I think my kids are still asleep. And then smack it right there on the table so that I can know that's the end goal, right? End game, Avengers, that's the end. And then everything I write, so another Post-it note, just idea after idea after idea. Here's the thing, our brains are great at coming up with ideas. And again, with that transformation in mind, with that destination in mind, now our ideas are focused, right? But they're not in the right order. Our brains are great at coming up with ideas, terrible at organizing and creating order to them as we sort of create these ideas, right? So this is the purpose of the Post-it note strategy, because you can then go, okay, well, here's a story I want to tell. Here's a case study. Here's a person I want to share as an example. Here is a tip. Here's another tip. And I can start grouping things together. And these Post-it notes ultimately become the structure or outline of your post. Because what you can then do is go, oh, well, here are all the tips. I'm going to put all these tips together, and boom, there's a little cluster there. And here's a cluster here. Here's a cluster here. In fact, this is how I create my online courses. And this is how I create my books. These modules become these clusters, and the individual blog posts become the chapters of that book. Very similar to the structure and the outline of your videos, your podcast episodes, or your content too. And then, and here's the magic sauce, when it's time to create this, you have this beautiful outline, you've thrown away all the Post-it notes or recycled them or using them later for the things that aren't going to fit in there. And then now you have this beautiful order, and now I can create it as I go. I can go, okay, part 1, let's do this. And this is what you're focusing on. And I have this in front of my computer or whatever I'm recording. This is a blank Post-it note, by the way. But I have this as something to guide me to put the blinders on. So that's the only thing I need to worry about during that time. And then when I'm done with that, boom, put that away, pick up the next Post-it note. And by the time, without you even knowing it, you're going through step by step to create this content. It's just so much easier to do. Now, you don't have to use Post-it notes, obviously. You can write things down on paper. I like the sort of feel, can you hear that? I like the feel of paper, but I also like the idea of being able to pick it up and move it. You can do this on the computer, but I find that it's just not as successful. Everybody has a different way to plan. This is the way I plan, and I want to pass it on to you because it just kind of creates itself. All right, let's finish up here. Number 1, a multi-day experiment. This is another type of content piece that allows you to get so much content out of one big idea. Now, let me tell you a quick story. Back in 2010, I had this idea of sharing an experiment on my blog at smartpassiveincome.com to build a website from scratch in an industry I didn't know anything about, which I just happened to select security guard training because this was the keyword that I found. By the way, there are some videos here on my YouTube channel about keyword research. If you're interested about that, I'll put something up on the card. I think it's going to be over there eventually, and then also a link in the description below. Anyway, I wanted to publicly share this experiment about how I was going to take this sort of idea and this keyword, security guard training, and turn it into a business. And that big idea turned into 24 blog posts about that process, keeping people up to date. This kept people on the edge of their seat because they weren't quite sure what was going to happen next. And then after 73 days, I was able to get that website to #1 in Google, and it was making about $900 to $1,000 a month through advertising. I was able to get it to $2,000 a month, and then it was just passive income after that. And that experiment was actually one of the first things that put me on the map back in 2010 when I started this process. And then I've continued to just put my foot forward and go, okay, what can I experiment with next to show people the inside of the process? And people love that because they're getting a lot of value by you just publicly and for free sharing how you do what you do. And this is a great way to stand out, especially if you're just starting out. You don't consider yourself an expert on something. Well, hey, you might not be an expert. I wasn't an expert in security guard training, but because I was putting myself out there, trying to become the expert curator to create something, it, #1, forced me and like everybody watching held me accountable. #2, it got me to actually take action and actually build something. And #3, when that thing succeeded, after 73 days, man, my affiliate commissions for that process, because all along the way I was sharing the tools I was using at the same time, I was sharing the website hosting and all that stuff. Like like day 73 was, I saw affiliate sales go through the roof because it showed proof. And now people knew what was coming because they were following me along in the journey. I did this recently also with an invention at switchpod.co. You can see an invention that me and my videographer came up with. And no, we didn't just invent this and go, hey, world surprise, look what we created. We created this thing. This is the invention right here. It's called a SwitchPod. This is a tool, an apparatus that allows you to vlog. And then if you want to put it down, boom, just tripod mode really quickly. We shared this idea before it was even a prototype because we wanted to bring people in on the journey. And as a result, 2 years later, when this thing finally came out, I mean, our Kickstarter made $415,000 in 60 days, and now it's a legit company making money, helping people around the world. So hey, content creation doesn't have to be so difficult. You can share your process along the way, and that then in turn becomes the content. Work in public, and that can create some amazing authority and bring people in on your journey too. So hey, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and stick around because I'm actually doing this while live on one of my morning shows. And if you're watching this in the future, stick around because I'm going to be answering questions about content creation. And I'd recommend you come in and watch the income stream tomorrow morning as well, typically 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. And you can find that at patflynn.com/theincomestream. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well now and hit that bell notification icon. That way you can come back not just every morning, but when I come out with new content that's going to help you too. That way you're not going to be left behind, because I try to have my audience get ahead on things so that you can get ahead of the competition, so that you can get ahead of the overwhelm, and so that you can get ahead in life too. Thanks so much, and stick around because, hey, room, how'd we do? Awesome. So if you're, again, watching this in the future, stick around. You've probably noticed the chat here in the room earlier, but we did it. Woo! That was fun. So let's answer some questions now about content creation. I'm curious if any questions did come in, but we were able to get it done with a few mistakes. I made a few mistakes here and there, but that was really cool. All right. Spanish and Go here says, who here has a switch pod? I got one. Now, the way that we started the switch pod was really key. The fact that we were very open with that process and sharing a lot of what we were learning, a lot of the failures, a lot of the struggle along the way. This also put people in our corner to make them feel like they were a part of it with us, right? And so when people get interested in something, they get invested. And even though a lot of people didn't buy the switch pod, they knew it happened. It proved my authority and Caleb's authority. And it also was something people could then recommend and refer to other people too. Let's see, questions coming in. Thank you so much, by the way, Roderick. Hey, Roderick Russell, former fellow mastermind member. Appreciate you, my friend. It's been too long. I miss you so much. Okay, let's see. He had a lot of views when he did this last time. Great way to continue increasing subscribers. Thank you. So let me talk about more content creation stuff while we go along. You know, one of the things that I think that we have to remember is that people like to see the failures just as much, if not more, than they like to see the successes. So as you're creating stuff, a great way to extend your hand out and sort of be on the same playing field or level as your audience is to share those vulnerable things that often make us feel a little bit uncomfortable. When you share those things, it makes us feel more human, and it makes you just more likable, right? Like, oh, you don't have to be perfect. And a lot of times we stray away from sharing those things because we worry about, well, what if I don't look like a complete expert here? Or what if people go away? Well, the truth is, if you only share what's perfect, you become, for example, one of those Instagram channels where you know you're just sharing the highlight reel. And you know it's not real life. It doesn't feel real anymore. It's those Instagrams that show a lot of the raw realness that actually end up being the ones that people connect more with. How to generate endless content ideas. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, Oleg. So answering people's questions, that can go a very long way. There's so many questions people are asking. Number two, taking things that were popular from the past and recycling them, not rewriting them in the exact same way, but maybe even sharing those things in a different platform. So maybe, you know, a couple of years ago, you wrote about something. And by the way, I'm going to open the super chats back again. Hey, Archer, with the $1.99 super chat. I appreciate that. You can take something that was old and bring it back and make it new and update it. You could take something that was old and do it on another platform. For example, if it was a blog post that you wrote 2 years ago, why not create a podcast episode about it? Why not create a video about it? And then you can cross-link them, cross-promote them. It becomes a very nice sort of environment that you're creating for the content. And people who are there for your blog could potentially end up on your YouTube channel that they might not even know about, vice versa. I know some people who have even taken their blog posts and they were actually created from audio transcripts from their podcast, but they were doctored a little bit so that they felt more like a blog post, not just a giant long transcript, but it was created as a result of the audio that initially started and the transcript that came as a result of that. So we didn't talk about repurposing today. Repurposing is a great way for you to potentially take content that you already have and turn it into something else. So that's one idea. Another idea that you might have for content is something called a roundup post. Now, if I go to my YouTube channel here, you're going to find a video about getting more traffic. So let me go into my creator studio here. You're going to be able to see the sort of back end of my YouTube channel. And I want to go to videos. Thank you again so much for subscribing, y'all. We are just kicking recently. Here is a video that I want to share with you. It's called, let's see, the traffic building strategy works absurdly well. This traffic building strategy works absurdly well. So watch this. Hey, what if I could tell you that you can grow your blog, YouTube, or podcast following by just simply asking one simple question? What is that question? And how does that even work? How is that even possible? Well, I'm gonna show you exactly how it's possible. I'm gonna tell you why this works. I'm also gonna show you the exact step-by-step process so you can replicate exactly what I and many others have done that you aren't doing to help you get more results. And by results, I mean a bigger following, more exposure, more authority, more relationships in the space that you're in, and of course, business success too. So stick around. Okay, so that was my hook for that video. So as you can see, some time spent up front to have people who visit know if it's for them or not, and a hook for the reason why to stick around. Now, that content strategy was related to, and I'll link to that in the description below for those of you who watch this later on, that content strategy was related to roundups. By roundup, I mean collecting answers to one question from a group of people in your space, putting them all in one resource, and having that do a lot of legwork for you. Number one, it allows you to build relationships with other people in that space, which is always a great byproduct. Number two, it becomes a very valuable resource for people who are in that space as well. So I wanna show you some examples here. So I'm gonna take you to, I think it's in the description below, in fact. So let's see. So here's an example. 15 entrepreneurs share what they wish they'd known before starting their online business. And this features 15 different entrepreneurs. I linked to them, obviously. Many of these people were friends, yes. So let me give you another example in a completely different space to show you that you don't even have to have any connections to be able to do this. I'm gonna go to google.com. I'm gonna go type in how to start a food truck, because this is a website that you'll see. If I scroll down, you'll see foodtrucker.com. Here we go. 50 food truck owners speak out. What I wish I'd known before starting my food truck. That's a very common question to use in a scenario where you collect all these answers from a whole different group of people at the same time. But look at this, 2,533 comments. This went viral on Reddit. This went viral in the food truck industry. And this is how I was able to start curating information from a lot of people and building relationships with a lot of food truck owners to collect this information to help people. This is imagine you're starting a food truck. How valuable is this particular post for you? Very valuable, because you want to know, like you have to know, right? If you're getting started, what do people in that space wish they had done differently? So again, this is just very easy. It's a blog post. It's Rachel from La Cocinita, and then Ben from Luke's Lobster, and their answer, and that's it. And this went viral, 50. And again, I didn't have a food truck, and I was very upfront about that. But I was also working hard to curate this information. Now, I gotta tell you, the process of collecting this is a little bit harder than you just coming up with something on your own, right? But it is totally worth it because, again, this becomes very valuable. This is actually how I launched this website. And in fact, this website and the security guard training one I talked about earlier were both sold early 2020. I sold both of those businesses. So now they're owned by somebody else, but it was started as a result of an idea in a space that I didn't know anything about. And I played expert curator in order to provide value and build authority there too. Cool. Soriano says, Pat, I discovered you a couple weeks ago because your book, the amount of content you have is insane. Thank you. Yes, content creation is very helpful. Now, one thing to help you if you have started already and you've gotten your legs going, you've gotten your process down, is to learn how to start to optimize the creation of that content. A lot of times, the way we start creating content is not and shouldn't be the way that we continue to create content. One clear example is, hey, maybe you have been editing your own podcast for so long. Maybe now it's about time you have somebody else edit it so that you can get some time back. You can buy some time back, essentially, like literally buy some time back by hiring somebody to help edit your podcast or be the editor and person who proofreads your blog post or the person who edits your videos, for example, so that you can create more and do less editing. And that can only happen over time after you get started, unless you have some resources in the beginning, which most of us don't. However, I still recommend doing it yourself first. That way you can get started, you can understand your own style, you can learn how to get better at it, and that way, even if you do hire somebody and perhaps they were to leave, you can still continue as you find somebody else to replace. I would also instruct you to write down every single step, like literally every single step, when the next time you create a podcast episode, or the next time you create a video, or the next time you create a blog post. Write down every little step that it takes to get there, and you're likely gonna have this giant list of things and see it and go, oh my gosh, this is really overwhelming. Why do I do all those things? And then you're going to go, wow, do I have to do all those things? Can I combine them? Is there a tool that can do like steps 9 to 12 all in one full swoop for me? Can I hire somebody for some of these steps? That will allow you to understand, because you probably don't even know necessarily how much work you are doing for these pieces of content. I would also really focus on who the niche is that you're focusing that content on, and specifically a sub niche within your space. There might be, for example, if you are somebody teaching running, great. There's all kinds of running though. Maybe you do a series of blog posts specifically for the first time 50-plus-year-old marathon runner, right? Or the first time person running their first ultra marathon, or the person who's on the couch who's getting up, and we're trying to help them out too. So it's really hard to do, but because it sounds counterintuitive, right? Well, it's not for everybody, but it is for and seemingly more related to a specific group of people. And as a result, it can have a lot more legs. I remember doing a podcast episode specifically for artists. I teach people how to build online businesses, and I was targeting artists. And I honestly didn't think that episode was going to go very well. This was episode 96. I brought on a guest. His name was Corey Huff, who's in the art space, to talk about how artists can monetize. And in fact, that was one of the highest listened to podcast episodes back in 2011, 2012 when that came out. And it was because it went viral in the artist community, because they felt like it was just for them, because I was speaking just to them. And that's the best kind of response you can get to your content, is somebody reading it or listening to it or watching it and going, I feel like you created this just for me. That's the ultimate feedback that you can get. And so when you do that, connection can't help but happen. Subscriptions can't help but happen. And further conversation down the road can't help but happen too. Great. There was a question earlier about the SwitchPod and having it break. That's the one thing that I've learned about the physical space versus digital. With a digital product, right? Hey, things can, there could be mistakes in your course. Well, hey, I'm just going to re-upload a new video or change that text that was, misspelled. When it's a physical product, hey, there's going to be some parts, no matter how great your product is, that break. And this was very worrisome at first. We had like 2 or 3 people after 10,000 got out there whose SwitchPods broke. And we're like, oh no, this is mess. Like, it's all going to go downhill. And we went to our manufacturing guy and they're like, this is very common. In fact, the percentage of people who are seeing your SwitchPod break is very low compared to industry standards. And we're like, this is standard to have like some percentage of things break? And they're like, yeah, that's just a part of the manufacturing process. So of course we went back to the manufacturer and we're like, okay, can we make it not break? However, it's still going to break. So if you have something that broke and it's a SwitchPod, reach out to support and just go to switchpod.co and reach out to us, and we'll get a replacement for you, or a replacement part. If it drops in a specific way, we found that the little screw at the top, if it lands on that, it's not gonna turn out very well. However, in our next batch, that should be improved. However, we can give you something that will make it indestructible. Corey says, this is the best $5 I'll ever spend. Thank you. All right. Albert is asking a question, or Alberman Art. Hey, we were just talking about art, which is cool. Let's see. How did you sell the websites you created? For example, the food truck website. So number one, you just have to know that you want to sell it. Number one, if you aren't sure you want to sell it, you're not going to do the work to go and find people, to find buyers, right? You're going to be on edge. And if it's something that, well, I don't know if I'm going to sell, you're not going to actually put yourself out there in places and marketplaces where you can sell it. There are websites like empireflippers.com where you can go, or what was the, there used to be a really popular website where you can go and sell your website. I can't remember right now. Sell your website. I think it was, Flippa, thank you, Flippa.com. That's a place where you can go to sell if you wanted to find actual buyers who are all in one place. However, I would looking at the industry first. So for Food Trucker, for example, and I'll just share that one. We found another company who was sharing content about food trucks who was doing very well, and we essentially were hoping to get acquired by them because they just could then absorb what we were doing and take advantage of the things that we've started and the keywords that we were ranking for and all the articles and content and products that we had, and just absorb it. And so that's what happened. We found a company in that same industry who wanted to grow bigger, and they had money and resources to invest. And hey, we reached out to them and we started a conversation, built a relationship, and we went from there. And that worked out really, really well. That's where I sold mine, says Ben from Brilliant Side. Awesome. By the way, we have a like goal today. If you haven't hit that like button yet, Whether you're watching this in the future or you're watching this live with me, hit that like button now, because if you're watching live, if we get to 200, I'm going to give away a free pro license of Ecamm Live, which is the tool that I'm using to go live here simultaneously here in this video with you. So hit that like button if you haven't already, and if you haven't done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button too, because that's how you can ensure that you don't miss any of this great content that will be here. Now, there were some super chats that came in. I appreciate that. I'm going to scroll up to get them. So first of all, Corey, thank you so much for that super chat, my friend. I appreciate you. Let's pop that in there. There we go, Corey. Best $5 I've ever spent. Let me keep scrolling up here. We got a super chat from BNS. Would love to get some feedback on the channel. BNS Goku Great. I interview world experts on health and mindset. This will help a lot of people. Thanks. I am not going to review it today. However, I'm going to write that down, and I might review it either tomorrow or over the weekend, because we are trying to stay focused on the content at hand. But I have this here in a post-it note, and so I'll review the channel later. Coming on the weekends, we do hardcore, not necessarily hard, it's still casual, but we do some fun website reviews and channel reviews. So thank you so much for being here and the super chat. Also, since you left me a super chat, I might be able to leave you some quick feedback. Just send me an email, pat@patflynn.com. I'm not going to be able to do that for everybody, but because you asked and because you were kind enough to donate to the this month, we are donating to Project Cure to help those on the medical field right now. That'd be awesome. pat@patflynn.com. Okay, another super chat. Looking for another one. Question here from Atheists in Recovery, by the way, as we look for those. Who do you use for podcast transcripts? Using a free version takes so much time to edit. So a couple things you can do. This is a great way to sort of repurpose content, for example, from an audio file or video file. You can get the transcript. You can use that in a blog post. You can use that as a lead magnet. You can use it to help people read that they can't listen or watch because they happen to be at work or something, right? So I use Rev, because Rev has less mistakes. However, it is a human being on the other end at $1 per minute, and that's quite expensive, right? Rev has a software tool called Temi, and there's other ones out there like Otter.ai, as well as Descript. Descript is a great one that can do it based on machine learning. However, it's not going to be perfect. So there's a couple things you can do. You could pay a little bit more to have either a human do it, either on the front end like rev.com. smartpassiveincome.com/rev, by the way, is our affiliate link. If you want to go through that, I do get a little bit of a kickback if you go through that link. However, you could also have a human being, an editor or an assistant, edit it for you after it comes in, if you use those machine learning ones that have a little bit of mistakes. What I found to be most useful and the cheapest is to still continue to use the machine learning one, which is often, I think, 10 cents per minute. So just a significant, it's only 10% of the price. But you can preface this on your blog post, for example, by saying, hey, the transcript here was generated by Otter.ai. Maybe that's even an affiliate link that you can include. Please excuse the mistakes created by this machine. This is done so that to help make it easier for you to consume this information in transcript form. And that way, the mistakes are not in your hands anymore. It's going to be received a little bit better if you preface it by saying, this was done by Otter.ai, a machine that creates this transcript for you. It's mostly correct, but please excuse any mistakes. And now it's out of your hands, right? It's out of your hands. So that's what you could do. All right, let's keep going here. I repurposed Manners Etiquette from the 50s into a parenting chapter in one of my books and asked the questions. Why not? What would this book look like today? Etc. It was interesting. Cool. Let's see. Another super chat came in. Awesome. From the same person. Question from Oleg. Oh, we answered that question already. How to generate endless content ideas. Flyride says, I was very early bird with a SwitchBot after meeting Pat at VidSummit before the Kickstarter. Was stoked to get it before anyone else. Thank you so much for that support. Let's see. Great feedback. I'm just looking at all the comments that came in during this stream. Fantastic. Great advice. Always start with the end in mind. Indeed. Okay, let's go back down. Ben from Brilliant Side, are you planning more Ask Ben episodes, if I can ask? That's a question from Diana. Question from Cole here. And a super chat. Thank you so much, by the way. I want to just be a blessing, or I would just want to be a blessing because you are being so blessing to us. Thank you so much, Cole. I appreciate that super chat coming in. By the way, today is May 4th. Happy May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Bay with you. I was reading rap and comments. Bay with you, baby. John Doe says, what SEO tools and process do you use for creating content? Cool. So the tools I use to create content, well, number one, for SEO, I like to do a little bit of keyword research up front, right? So let me take you back to the computer. I like to do a couple things. Number one, there's a tool that, gosh, I shared it yesterday and it's skipping my mind, but WordStream. So here's a WordStream app that you can use, and this will take you to a free keyword research tool that doesn't ask you, at least at this current moment in time, to like subscribe or, hey, you've reached your limit for the day. This is just a very simple one that tells me some information. So let's say I'm doing a blog post or a video about podcasting, right? So I'm just gonna type in how to start a podcast. And I'm gonna find my keywords. So now what this is gonna do is tell me other auxiliary or tertiary secondary keywords that I should be including in this blog post too, or that I can create other external content about to point to a major post, right? So what is a podcast, podcast app, podcast equipment, how to make podcasts, starting a podcast, podcast for kids, definition of podcast, how to create a podcast logo, podcast hosting, podcast topics. This is something that just pops up and that's okay. Educational podcast, podcast website, podcast setup. And again, this is pretty high search volume, which is really great. So in addition to that, I could even type in a URL. So I'm gonna actually go back into Google here, how to start a podcast. So step number one, type it into Google. And I'm gonna go here to my podcast post. I'm gonna copy that URL and pop that into this WordStream keyword tool. Now here's the URL for the tool up here, app.wordstream.com/FKT. free keyword tool /app. And as you can see here, affiliate marketing. What is affiliate marketing? So these are keywords related to this particular website that I have. How to launch podcasts, setting up a podcast, equipment to start a podcast. So now I can sort of do some reconnaissance and research into an existing page that's ranking and see what keywords that particular person is also ranking for, which is really interesting. So I go there. In terms of videos, I like to use TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy is a tool that I use for keyword research, as well as vidIQ.com. So if I go to vidIQ, for example, and I log in, so these are both great tools. You can use one, or I use both because I love them both. But I'm going to go to SEO here, and I'm going to type in how to start a podcast. I'm going to do some keyword research. This researches YouTube's database for keyword research. And then again, this gives me ideas on other things I should be talking about in this video, other videos individually that I can create. So how to start a podcast, this is ranked on overall score. So how to start a podcast 2020, how to start a podcast on YouTube, how to start a podcast fast, how to start a podcast for free, start a podcast on Spotify, start a podcast on iTunes, etc. And if I go to YouTube here, let's go to YouTube and I type in how to start a podcast and just share that I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. Look at this. So I have number 2 spot, number 4 spot, number 10 spot, number 12, 14 for how to start a podcast, right? And look at this. This has quite a high search volume. 147,000 people search monthly for that. And I'm ranking in multiple places here on YouTube. So I kind of know what I'm talking about, but it didn't happen right away. Using those keywords as sort of guidance to help you works a really long way. And hey, we just reached 200. Well done, everybody. So here's how this is gonna work. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to show you my screen where I have all the comments, by the way. And I want to make sure that I select somebody at random. And to show you that, here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to close this screen and I'm gonna make this one bigger so I can see what's going on. And we have about 5 minutes remaining, y'all, and that was great timing to get there to 200. So what am I giving away? A free annual license for the pro version of Ecamm Live. This is a tool that I've been using. I even have some resources down in the description below to help you with your live streaming, because it's been really fun to do this, to connect with people. We have 250 people watching live right now, which is really cool. And again, if you're watching in the future, make sure you come in, patflynn.com/theincomestream. That's where you want to go daily, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Just today on May 4th, I happen to be going a little bit earlier. But here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna share this particular angle here. I'm gonna pull you out and I'm gonna go here. So here are the comments coming from you. How many comments do we have today? We have, can you see that? Over 1,317 comments. Wonderful job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here on my iPad, and I'm just going to scroll up and down sort of randomly. And wherever we end up, that's the person who will win, all right? So I'm going to put on some music, and let's do this. Here we go. Good luck. You can see my cursor there, right there. Let's keep going. Who's going to win? Who's going to win? All right, Ellen. Ellen has won. Now, Ellen, I don't know if you're going live or not, but you let me know here in the chat if you go live and you want this tool. If not, you can pass it on. I know that you're very, very graceful. You've even won something before that you offered to somebody else. So, Ellen, let me know if you are here. If not, I'm going to reach out to you since I have your email already. And again, the more that you participate during these chats, the more that you comment, the more likely it is you are to win something like that. So, Ellen, let me know, and congratulations on winning an annual license. I'd love to give it to you, by the way, because you were so gracious in offering the other thing that we won the other day to somebody else. So I don't know, Ellen, if you're still here, but yeah, congratulations. Anyway, Ellen, I don't go live. Do you want to go live, or do you want to offer this to somebody else? Let me know. Anyway, this has been a lot of fun, y'all. Ellen has been crushing the win game lately, so active in the chat and totally deserves it. Yes. Cool. This is a lot of fun, y'all. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about email marketing specifically. I'm also going to be running a workshop tomorrow about email marketing, so check out, if you are on my email list, a link to go to that and subscribe to that. Let's see. Ellen says, LOL. Let's see. I guess we're determining who needs this right now. OMG. Okay, so tomorrow we're talking about email marketing. I'm going to do something similar where we're going to have in the beginning a very structured video to help you through some email marketing tactics that you can use to make email marketing a little bit easier. Specifically, I want to share with you, what do you do when you after you grow your list? So not list growing hacks, but what to do when you have that list. What kinds of emails can we send out to people? Let's see. I don't have a Mac pad. Okay, so Ellen, I'm going to reach out to you. I'm going to see if there's something I can do for you. But tomorrow, thank you, Samson. Tomorrow, we have an 8 a.m. start, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. So back to the normal time. Today was a little bit earlier, but let's see. We good? Okay. You got an affiliate link for eCam? Yes, I do. smartpassiveincome.com or patflynn.com/eCam. That's where you can go. Okay, Coach Deb says Ellen doesn't have a Mac. She says she will pay it forward. Okay, let's since you all are here, let's do this one more time. Here we go. Here we go. Janelle Brown. Congratulations, Janelle. So Janelle Brown, send me an email, pat@patflynn.com. We'll hook you up with an annual license of eCam Live Pro, and we'll make it happen. So let's see. Will timestamps change? Yes, it might. Grandma Goody, thank you so much for that. Question from Coach Constance here really quick. Tribe question, heard your podcast with Stu. Do you have an affiliate link with bonuses? Yes, if you go to, actually, if you wait 15 minutes, smartpassiveincome.com/Stu, STU, or no, excuse me, smartpassiveincome.com/tribe. Go there. I think that may even work right now. smartpassiveincome.com/tribe. That'll take you through. If it doesn't work, try again in 15 minutes. That's the affiliate link to Stu McLaren's sort of tribe platform. Anyway, Team Flynn, you're amazing. Thank you so much for coming in. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific, we're going to talk about email marketing in the future. If you're watching this, I'll link to that as soon as this video ends for you. Although it won't happen until tomorrow. I'll link to something relevant to you in the meantime. Anyway, thank you so much today. It was really fun. Look out for this video in the future. And if you, anyway, no, this will be already posted because it's done live. This is all new for me, people. We're doing this live together. I appreciate you coming tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. The link to remember, patflynn.com/theincomestream. And keep up the great work. Let's go create some content. Cheers, peace out, and as always, Team Flynn for the win. Hit subscribe if you haven't already.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
Everybody stay safe, stay inside. We're going live every day until we're out of this, and probably even after that, because I'm just having so much fun. Trying to keep leveling it up for you. Come back tomorrow and see what else I can do to level it up for you. May the 4th be with you. Peace out.